Hey guys, how's it going? Ricky Widmer here from Most Valuable Podcast, here to bring you our top 25 in the world of college football for week number 6. Had an interesting week this week. We had 4 undefeated teams get knocked off. Ohio State almost made it number 5, but they survived. If you're new to the rankings, this is how it works. Brandon Swanson from Most Valuable Podcast and the Primetime Podcast and myself come up with our individual top 25s. We award points for each. So like if, Ohio State was number 1, they get 25 points. If they're 25, they get 1. I take both of them, we add it together, and this is what you have in the top 25. Before we get started with number 25 through number 21, just want to throw out, we have 2 teams this week receiving votes but not getting in. The Illinois Fighting Illini and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Yeah, I know, you're like, really, Ricky? Really? You gave the Illini some points? I need someone at 25. And why not be a homer? Because I knew even if I put them at 25, they weren't going to get into the MVP top 25. But yeah, Illinois, Mississippi State receiving votes in the MVP top 25 for week 6. But let's get to the real ones. 25 through 21. We have 25, the Boise State Broncos. 24, the Iowa Hawkeyes. 23, the Toledo Rockets. And then tied for 21, Oklahoma State, the Cowboys. I almost said the Sooners. The Cowboys, and then the Cal Golden Bears. And Cal didn't play this week. They're going to play Utah later on. Toledo gets a big win. I mean, Boise State getting back into the rankings after they fell out with their loss to BYU. You've got the Hawkeyes of Iowa getting in. That was a big one to me. The 10-6 victory for the Hawkeyes over the Badgers, because that virtually knocked the Badgers out of our top 25. As you can see, Brandon knocked them out. I knocked them out. They didn't receive any votes. They were, 19 in the AP top 25? No way they were going to stay in the top 25 after losing to Iowa. I mean, these are teams. Oklahoma State got a win this past week, but the way I looked at it is it was just one of those, with everything else that was going on, in my personal rankings, it was like, stay the same. You're still in the top 25. We'll see how things go moving forward. Then we got number 20 through number 16, and 3 fallers this week in this group of 5. At number 20, we got the UCLA Bruins. 19, we got the Georgia Bulldogs. Then at 18, we've got the USC Trojans. And then tied for 16th in the rankings, we have Ole Miss and Michigan. Michigan pitching their second shutout in as many weeks. They're going to go up against Northwestern this week. That's going to be a great test. It's going to be a great game. I can't wait to check that one out. 3 of the one-loss teams, though, here. I mean, Ole Miss losing in the swamp to Florida. Georgia losing to Bama. UCLA losing to Arizona State. And the way I looked at it, and this is kind of the same order I had them in, where Ole Miss was kind of ranked higher than Georgia because, okay, they at least beat Bama earlier in the season, so they have that to hang over Georgia's head. Georgia should have won this game. They were the favorite in this one, even though Alabama fans may have been like, well, yeah, you guys were smoking so much weed. They weren't the favorite. UCLA, though, out of these 4 teams that with the one loss, one of them that is still to be named, they were kind of the last one, because out of Alabama, Florida, and then Clemson, Arizona State isn't a good enough team. You should have easily beat Arizona State. That's why if you look last week, UCLA was, I believe, the 5th. They were the first team out of our playoff. Now they're all the way at number 20. It's funny how much 1 week, like how much change we can have in 1 week of college football. But the next 5, 15 through 11. Number 15, we've got the Stanford Cardinal tied for number 12, three-way tie, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the Florida State Seminoles, and the Northwestern Wildcats. And then at number 11, the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma seems like they're on their way. I thought that West Virginia was going to get them this week. They beat West Virginia. It looks like they're going to be the ones to say, hey, if TCU and or Baylor screw up, we're going to be there to capitalize on their mess up. Northwestern, it's what is up with them this year? I did not expect them to be as good as they were. However, from an Illinois fan who bleeds orange and blue, gotta give the Wildcats some credit for their hot start, the shutout last week against Minnesota. However, we're coming for you. We're going to beat you at Soldier Field this year. Notre Dame, how far do you have them fall? I feel like they can't be a top 10 team. Maybe 15 at the lowest. I mean, with here, they're coming in at number technically 14, but they're tied for 12. They still got a chance. I mean, out of the four, obviously they're going to be ranked the highest out of the one-loss teams this week because they lost to Clemson. It was a close game. They came back this close. 2-point conversion. This close from winning that game. Probably should have won it, but they came up short in the end. Now we're getting into the top 10. Let's get into the top 10. 10 through 6. At number 10, moving up from like sub-20s to number 10, the Florida Gators. Number 9, the Texas A&M Aggies. Number 8, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Number 7, the Clemson Tigers. And number 6, the Utah Utes. And Utah right now, they'd be just the second team out of the playoff right now. They didn't play this past week. They got a big test against number 21 on our list, the Cal Golden Bears. So that's going to be a matchup to look at in week 6. Florida moving up with their big, like Florida to me, part of me wanted to put them ahead of Alabama because it's like, okay, Ole Miss beat Alabama, Florida beat Ole Miss, therefore by the associative property, whatever math property you want to put in, Florida should be greater than Alabama, right? That's just how it should work. One beat one, the other beat the other, so Florida should be able to beat Alabama. Texas A&M, to me, even though they're a top 10 team in our ranking, surprise in the SEC. And then Clemson moving up, kind of taking the ranking that Notre Dame had coming into this past week. Then you got the top 5, and how I look at this, here's your 4 playoff teams. If the playoffs were to start tomorrow and you're one team that kind of sits at home thinking what would have been, the team that sits at home at number 5 out of the playoff, the LSU Tigers. Sorry, Leonard Fournette, you most likely will win the Heisman, but at this point you're sitting at home watching the college football playoff. The top 4, TCU and Michigan State tied for number 3 at 4-3. Ohio State at number 2. And notice how I said Ohio State at number 2. That means we have a new number 1 for the first time this college football season, the Baylor Bears. And the way I look at it is, I'm going to be honest. I put Baylor at number 1. I put Ohio State at number 4. The reason being, I mean, with Michigan State, Ohio State, they just haven't had the convincing wins. Baylor's been just roughhousing everyone. At least 50 points a game, 63, a 70-point game. To me, at this point, they are the true team where I look at them and go, that's the best team in the nation. That's the team where each and every game I'm looking at them going, they could win that game. Ohio State can't do that right now. Ohio State's still a good team. They're still a playoff team. They're just not my number 1 team at the moment. Brandon put Ohio State at number 1. However, it wasn't good enough to get them number 1 in the MVP top 25. So, I mean, looking at it this way, LSU sits at home. We'd have if this holds up, which it probably won't because all 4 of these teams have to play each other this season, Baylor, TCU, Ohio State, Michigan State. We'd basically have the Big 12 over here versus the Big 10 over here, and we'd have a Big 12, Big 10 national title game. If these four held up, probably ain't going to happen. I mean, Utah might slip in there if they go undefeated, but yeah, it's fun to think about right now that we'd have a Big 12 and Big 10 semifinal if the playoffs started tomorrow in the MVP. But that's going to do it for our top 25 this week for the MVP top 25 in college football. Let me know down below what you thought of our rankings. Is Baylor really the number one team in the nation? Are they really? Brandon's shaking his head no at me, but you guys got to tell me, are they really the number one team? Do they deserve that ranking? Let me know down below. Also tell me where the other movers or shakers are that you feel should have been in our top 25. You can follow me on Twitter at Ricky Widmer. Most Valuable Podcast is at Most Valuable Pod. I want to thank you guys for checking out this video. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, all that good stuff. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Hey guys, like the video? Then hit that subscribe button. But if you liked it even more, you should check out our Patreon page. We have a lot of different rewards and goals for those of you who would love to support us. So make sure to click that link down in the description to check out those pretty kick-ass rewards.